There's Goff. Oh, he does it again.
He's a tremendous quarterback to me. He's my GOAT.
Goff over the middle. He's got St. Brown, and he's got a touchdown.
Defenses know what they're getting into when it comes to Jared.
Unguardable. It's unguardable.
He was the #1 pick who got tossed aside. The quarterback traded away like damaged goods, but in Detroit, Jared Goff is rewriting the script. From Castoff in LA to the man chasing the biggest prize in football, and the question is louder than ever. If Goff brings a Super Bowl to Motown, does Canton become a possibility for him?
Jared Goff, you have him as a Hall of Famer.
No, I said he will be a Hall of Famer. Absolutely.
Goff on second down, over the middle, into the end zone, touchdown.
Opening day 2025 in Green Bay was a nightmare for the Detroit Lions. So, a week later, Jared Goff responded by going off on the Chicago Bears with one of the most dominant performances of his career. 23 completions on 28 attempts, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and a passer rating of 156.
Goff going deep. Williams, touchdown!
For the record, 158.3 is perfection, so yeah, he went off. And this wasn't garbage time stat padding either. Detroit hung 52 points on their division rivals, with Goff carving up the Bears like he was running a clinic. He stretched the field with deep balls to Jamison Williams, punished soft zones by spreading the ball around to 8 different pass catchers, and hooked up with Amon-Ra St. Brown on short routes for 3 scores.
Goff with time on first down, it's complete. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Goff to the end zone, touchdown St. Brown.
First 3-touchdown game in his career. St. Brown.
That Sunday wasn't merely a rebound game. It was a loud, clear reminder to the division and the league. Jared Goff isn't a placeholder in Detroit. He's the quarterback for one of the most balanced teams in the NFL and a legit contender to hoist the Lombardi trophy in 2026. So, sit back, hit that like and subscribe, and enjoy the ride as we dissect how Jared Goff transformed from a cast-off in LA to a legit MVP candidate in Motor City, and possibly a spot in Canton one day. Now, yes, we know the Hall of Fame chatter is premature and a long shot right now, but hear us out, and we'll tell you how that could change this season alone. If Goff keeps up this level of play for 17 weeks, the Lions will be doing more than just playing deep into January this season. Because here's the thing about the Goff father. When he's on, it infects all of Detroit like a fever. You could feel it at Ford Field that afternoon when he embarrassed the Bears. The offensive line bullied the hell out of Chicago's front. Gibbs and Montgomery ran like they knew every hole would be open, and every time Goff dropped back, you could almost hear the crowd inhale, waiting to see who was going to be on the receiving end of another touchdown. By the fourth quarter, Bears fans weren't even booing. They were stunned. But up in the owner's box, Detroit's GM Brad Holmes was smiling down. Not just because he's the guy who brought Jared Goff to Motown, he was also the head of scouting in LA when the Rams drafted Goff first overall in 2016.
I never forget Les asked me, he was like, do you want Jared in this trade? And I was like, hell yeah.
You have to remember that before the trade, Jared Goff was supposed to be the chosen one in Los Angeles. And for good reason. Because all this guy did at Cal was throw for 12,200 yards and 96 touchdowns in 3 seasons. Those are the kind of numbers that make you a first overall pick. So the Rams bet everything on him being their future. But year 1 was ugly. 7 starts, 0 wins, and Goff looked lost. But then Sean McVay arrived and everything changed. In 2017, Goff led the NFL in yards per completion and went to his first Pro Bowl. And he followed that up by throwing for nearly 4,700 yards and 32 touchdowns on the way to a Super Bowl in 2018. At just 24 years old, he looked like the next great Rams quarterback, but when the lights were brightest, everything began to fall apart. Starting with a 3-point performance in Super Bowl 53 against New England, after that, the shine started to fade. Goff's interceptions started to tick up, the offense grew stale, and the whispers got louder.
To the end zone, and it's intercepted at the 3-yard line.
You can't throw the ball to the same spot in 2 consecutive plays and not expect a guy to be ready for it, and that's exactly what Goff did. So
maybe he wasn't the guy. It was an idea that stuck, and by 2021, the Rams were done with the Goff experiment. They shipped him to Detroit in that blockbuster deal for Matthew Stafford. A year later, the Rams got their ring. Goff got left for dead. Except Detroit didn't bury him. They gave him a full-on resurrection, and Goff earned every minute of it. By 2022, number 16 was back in the Pro Bowl and playing at an elite level again. In 2023, Jago Unchained threw for over 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and in 2024, he had the best season of his career, 4,629 yards and 37 touchdowns, on the way to a 72% completion rate and a 15-2 record.
Jared looking out over that defense now. He leans in, takes back, looking, throwing, got the man. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Gets stumbled, but it doesn't matter. Connects with Lombardi for a Lions touchdown.
What had looked dangerously close to a Castoff career had exploded into a rebirth. Goff didn't just survive the trade for Stafford, he became the guy who helped turn the Lions into winners again. And that's critical to keep in mind, because Detroit was the place where greatness went to die. It sure as hell was never expected to be anyone's redemption story. This was the franchise that hadn't won a playoff game in decades. The team that burned through coaches, quarterbacks, rebuilds, and fans' hopes. So when Goff arrived, those fans assumed he'd just be a bridge to the next letdown. Instead, he became the bridge to relevance. So let's dive into that long shot Hall of Fame nonsense a little bit. Jared Goff has already thrown for more than 36,000 yards and over 230 touchdowns. At just 31 years old, the math is easy. He's almost certain to hit 50,000 yards before he's done. That's one of the NFL's most exclusive marks. Only 12 guys ever reaching those heights. So yeah, the company is pretty elite. Manning, Favre, Elway, Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Brady, every one of those guys is either in Canton or guaranteed to end up there. But 50K doesn't make it automatic. Phillip Rivers threw for over 63,000 yards and went to 8 Pro Bowls. Rivers has a good shot at getting in, but Matt Ryan, the guy behind him with 62,792 yards and an MVP, probably won't get a bust in Canton. Why is neither a lock? Well, because neither has a ring, and that shows what Goff is up against. You can stack up the stats for years, but without a championship, your legacy can get stuck in limbo. And here's where it gets almost cruel. The guy Goff was traded for, Matt Stafford, will probably walk into the Hall one day. Their stats through the first 10 years of their careers are nearly identical, but Stafford has that one thing that Goff doesn't, the Super Bowl ring. The Rams made the swap that brought Stafford his Lombardi trophy, while Goff was supposed to fade into irrelevancy. That's the irony that Hall of Fame voters love. Stafford's career wasn't any different from Goff's until that one postseason run in 2021. Suddenly, every number carried more weight. One championship ring validated Stafford's 60,000 yards. Without it, he's Rivers. With it, he's Aaron Rodgers. Goff knows that, which is why this season feels like more than a chase for wins. It's the pursuit of a legacy. Now, imagine this twist. What if Goff wins the big one in Detroit? The same trade that gave Stafford his legacy could give Jared Goff his. Both quarterbacks handcuffed forever in football lore, both potentially in Canton, because the Rams and Lions swapped places. If Goff does it, if he delivers the first Super Bowl win in Detroit's history, he flips the script. He goes from Castoff to champion, from stat tracker to NFL legend. That would make this entire debate a hell of a lot more interesting. So, is it really that out of reach? To answer that question, we have to recognize that this isn't just about Jared Goff. It's about the roster around him, and right now the Lions are built to chase a championship in 2025. Let's start with the offensive line. It's one of the best in football, anchored by veterans who give Goff the clean pockets he needs. When he's protected, he's deadly efficient. That Week 2 torching of Chicago proved it. Then there are the weapons at other skill positions. Amon-Ra St. Brown has turned into one of the premier receivers in the league, a route technician who can get open against anybody.
3rd and goal, St. Brown to the end zone, touchdown!
Jameson Williams is finally healthy, giving Detroit one of the most lethal vertical threats in the league.
In the middle, fires, Jameson Williams bouncing off tackles into the end zone!
Sam Laporta already looks like one of the best young tight ends in the NFL, a mismatch for every Sunday, and the backfield is a classic Thunder and Lightning duo, or Sonic and Knuckles if you will. Jahmyr Gibbs can score from anywhere on the field, while David Montgomery pounds defenses as well as anyone in the game, and both are elite pass catchers out of the backfield. Defensively, the Lions' big cats aren't just passengers. Aiden Hutchinson and that front bring constant pressure, while the secondary is finally deep enough to hold up when the offense forces opponents to play catch-up.
Seeing those guys step up, it's so fun. To see how hard they play and to see how much they want it and how much they're savoring it and getting after it, it's awesome.
And then there's the coaching. Dan Campbell has changed the DNA of this team in Motor City. The old Lions would have folded after week 1 in Green Bay. This Lions team punched back and dropped 52 on their other hated division rivals. That's because this group believes in their quarterback because he believes in them, and in a violent game built on trusting the guy beside you, that bond means everything. Put it together and Goff has everything a quarterback could want surrounding him: protection, playmakers, and a defense that can get him the ball back. Even though Goff is playing like it, he doesn't need to be Superman. He just needs to be the calm, accurate quarterback who dropped 5 touchdowns on the Bears. If Detroit cashes in this roster with a Super Bowl run, Goff won't just hit his numbers. He'll have the ultimate trump card to play with Hall of Fame voters, the first Lombardi trophy in franchise history, and that's the kind of moment voters can't ignore. For all the talent though, nothing about Detroit's road ahead in 2025 is going to be easy. The NFC North alone is a minefield. Green Bay looks like they've found their quarterback of the future in Jordan Love. Chicago may be rebuilding, but they're loaded with young talent, and you can bet your last dime that they have the rematch with Detroit circled on their calendars. Minnesota's quarterback situation has them looking a little bit shaky, but that didn't stop them from hanging 48 on the Bengals with backup Carson Wentz slinging it in week 3. Regardless of who is under center, that group is capable of dropping 30 on anyone any given week. And the Vikings always bring it against Detroit. That's just this division. Outside it, the schedule is just as brutal. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, the defending champion Eagles, Washington, which is a rising team with a defense that nobody wants to see. Tampa Bay is tricky, physical, and terrifying to think about defending when they finally get healthy. And then there's the Rams, the matchup everybody is dying to see: Goff versus Stafford, the quarterback swap that changed the destiny of 2 franchises. That's what lies ahead for Jared Goff in Detroit. And even if the Lions get through the gauntlet, the playoffs will be a nightmare. At least 2 of the heavyweights we just mentioned will likely be waiting in January, which is where legacies are made or broken. That's why every snap this season matters. Every big throw, every win that stacks up, because one stumble could cost Detroit a bye, home field advantage, or momentum. And for Goff, one missed opportunity could mean the difference between being remembered as a good quarterback or a great one. So no, for JG, this isn't about padding numbers in the regular season. It's about surviving the toughest schedule Detroit has faced in years. It's about getting back to the postseason and finally finishing the climb. If he pulls that off, if he leads the Lions through this fire and hoists the Lombardi trophy, this former Castoff's legacy goes from solid starter to Hall of Fame conversation real quick. Jared Goff was supposed to be finished. The Rams gave up on him. The league wrote him off. But in Detroit, he's rewriting his story. A 50,000-yard career is on the horizon, but a roster loaded for a Super Bowl run is in the present, as is Detroit's best chance to deliver something this franchise has never had: a Lombardi trophy for Motown. If he does it, if Jared Goff leads Detroit all the way in 2025, the Hall of Fame debate becomes exponentially more justified. Not a long shot, not a what if, but a legitimate conversation. So now, it's your turn. Does Goff need the ring to get in, or will the numbers be good enough? And what is good enough anymore? Is it 50,000? 60,000 yards? Drop your take in the comment section below. Hit like if you're riding with the Lions, and subscribe for more stories the box score doesn't tell. Because whatever happens next, Jared Goff is proving the story isn't over.